On this episode, I want to talk a little bit about how to modify your exercise and then how to choose the next programming phase that you're going to do. If you saw my past videos from postpartum, early postpartum, what I was really working on was a lot of breath work and a lot of mobility in the beginning. And I would highly recommend that for the first, we'll say 6 to 12 weeks, depending on what your training age is. What your training age is how long you've been working out and what kind of intensity you're at. So not everybody has the same training age. And it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to have never worked out before and this is the first time you want to get into it. It's okay to be advanced. And this is where we have to go back to and kind of regress in order to progress. So the first 6 to 12 weeks, what you want to do is just focus on breath work, reconnecting to the body, mobility. In that time frame, what you can start doing is adding in some body weight exercises. And I've got some videos walking you through what I did for those first 6 to 12 weeks. Then what you're going to do is decide which workout is going to be appropriate for you moving forward. Now, this may be determined by your personal trainer. It may be determined by your pelvic floor physical therapist, a chiropractor, or a bodywork specialist. But if you don't have the knowledge of how to select programming, then this video is going to be perfect for you. So what we need to look at first is your time. So what kind of time do you have? It may be different between each individual depending on your level of support and what your environment looks like. So meaning, do you have 3 times a week for 60 minutes? Do you have every day for about 10 minutes? Because those training outcomes are going to look completely different programming wise. So you have to decide, what do I realistically have? And I always like to tell clients when they're working with me initially is, what does your worst day look like? You got your period back from postpartum, your baby was up all night, your significant other's out of town, you don't have any food cooked. What's your bare minimum you can do? That should dictate the amount of time you have to dedicate to your programming each day. So for example, if on that kind of day you are saying like, oh man, I can only do 5 minutes a day, that's it. Oh man, I can only do 5 minutes that week, that's it. So find that bare minimum for yourself and then you build from there. Don't start with a program that gives you an exercise every day if you haven't worked out every day. That's a horrible place to start. You're going to commit and then feel like failure because you're not going to be able to keep up with it. And that's a little bit of underlying mindset beliefs of false confidence. So you want to be aware of that. So number 1 is timing. What does that look like? Number 2, what does your environment look like? So do you have a home gym? Do you have adjustable dumbbells? Do you have a place in your home that you can set up resistance bands? Do you need to go to the gym? Can you go to the gym after work, before work? Does the gym have daycare? Because that's going to dictate how much time you have to allocate and how you break up that workout. So for example, for me in my home gym, I will do maybe like a 30-minute program that I have planned, right? I may end up doing 10 minutes throughout the day. So I'll do 1 exercise in the morning, baby wakes up, I take care of her. Maybe when she goes down for her first nap, I finish the 2nd set, she wakes up, and then that 3rd nap throughout the day. Are you noisy today? That 3rd nap throughout the day, maybe that's when I finish it. So a home gym and equipment at home is going to allow for a lot more flexibility of breaking it up throughout the day. Now, it doesn't have to all be done at once, and that's okay. So it doesn't have to be all done at once. Do not set yourself up for perfectionism in that sense. Something is better than nothing. Now, if you're going to a gym, obviously you cannot break it up because you are there and that's the time you're committed. So what I would encourage you to do is rely on support for that time that you're there. Maybe you just go for 20 minutes and start there to see how it goes with the support. Maybe we can go a little bit longer. Maybe we can go on our lunch break at work if you are going back to work. Now, here's the other thing too. I actually had a client last year that was starting to go to the gym and she was going to bring her daughter with her. And this was her rule of thumb because she was just going. She was going to put the daughter in the child care center. That first time you go, do not expect to work out. Don't have a plan. Just walk on the treadmill and watch the child care screen. Like most of the time they have TVs where you can see what's happening in there. Just make sure your daughter or your son feels comfortable in there. If they do, great. If they don't, you didn't plan a workout anyways, you got a couple steps in and you can leave. Don't try and push them through that discomfort because they're learning a new environment too. Also, I find that if you set yourself up to have a workout and then you didn't get to it because the child was, not behaving or whatever term you want to say, not comfortable, then you're not disappointed. You go, okay, at least we tried. And kind of think of it like exposure therapy. So every time you go, you expect like, maybe this time I'll just get squats in. And then you see, okay, maybe I can go to rows real quick. And have a plan for a workout once they start to get more comfortable with it. Is that a bright light? Yes. So gym environment and home equipment. If you are going to work out at home, I recommend resistance bands. Those are a low cost option. You can get a lot of stuff done with body weight. TRX, it's not a cable, but a TRX device or whatever it is a great option. And if you start to get more committed and consistent, then adjustable dumbbells are a great investment. There's tons of them on Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and kind of the secondhand stores. Big yawn. But you want to make sure that like you're being consistent rather than making that investment, because they can be a couple $100s and upwards. So just be careful there. Now, going into how do I choose my programming? This is a great question because there are so many options that it becomes very overwhelming. My first thing is there are a lot of apps and there are a lot of, I'll say like programs that are focused on prenatal and postpartum. They're great. However, you don't need a prenatal and postpartum workout specifically. Now, if I was a beginner, I would recommend that because they're going to change the modifications, assuming you're going through those trimesters or in that postpartum period. However, if you are an experienced lifter, you can adjust any program fit to you. It does not have to be prenatal or postpartum specific. So some prenatal postpartum programs that are good is, her name is, it's Slam, Strong Like a Mother. They have got an app, Expecting and Empowered. Brianna Battles is another one. So those are kind of three that I would gravitate towards that are specific towards that. And they're going to be with our population. Now, if you want to get a general program, I would definitely recommend doing something that you've done before. And why I say that is because, now caveat that, if the program is good and appropriate for your training age and you know how to adjust it. But I would do something that you've done before, because that first week that you are starting a new program, it's going to take longer. It always does, because you're trying to see what the exercises are, trying to make sure the form's right. You're checking like what the video is. Some programs use different verbiage for the same exercise. So like tricep extension might be triceps cold pressure, and some. And I know those are two different exercises, but it really depends. Like some people use those interchangeably. So you'll want to make sure that you know what the exercises are. If you've done something that you've done before, you already kind of know the lingo and the way it works. Now you want to make sure it's appropriate for you. So again, you want to make sure, am I comfortable breaking up? Does it fit my lifestyle? Does it fit my time? Does it fit the equipment I have available? So that may be, so for example, what my training looks like right now is I'm doing 3 full body days with essentially the TRX, but we'll change into resistance bands and dumbbells. And then I do 1 day of like a focus session, and I'm focusing on my glutes. So what I tell myself is I work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Those are just better days for me. And if I don't get through that workout, I've got Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to finish the other half of it. So I can split it up in half. So not only can I split it up throughout the day, but I can split it in half throughout the week. That's something I'm comfortable with, and so are you, is the question. Because if you don't know where to start, this is where I'd say hire a trainer. I know it's a financial cost, and I know sounds like a big commitment, but I'm telling you, you will get more accountability and more personalized coaching that you're looking for, and for you to feel confident to do this on your own if you hire the right trainer. Trying to do it on your own, you've probably done that before. Started on Mondays, stopped by Friday, didn't feel like you were doing it right, so you just didn't do it at all. Didn't know if you were doing it right, didn't know how to progress. Like, that's a lot on your mind right now, and I'm a big fan of outsourcing all of that. Have someone help guide you. Like, for example, I had a client who we were doing stationary lunges or split squats. So see, that's the same thing, but different name. And so she was feeling really wobbly and just wasn't sure how far to go with her knee depth or anything like that. What did I do? I sent her a video explaining it, and I gave her some options. So now she can do the same movement. We're not concerned about knee depth because we got her some more confidence in it. And then we're also holding onto a wall just to give her some more balance. That's something that was easy for me to do, but gave her a lot more confidence to complete the exercise. So we have time, environment, programming considerations. Lastly, coaching considerations. This, as I said, is the time to hire a coach. Um, Postpartum is such a vulnerable period, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. So, for example, sometimes in your, let's say, how far? She's 3.5 months. So, however many weeks that is, like my pelvis may still not be feeling quite ready for split squats, right? But if your program has that, what do you know to switch it with? And hopefully some of those like apps give you options. I haven't used them before, full transparency, but they are sources that I, recommend and are reputable. So this is where that one-to-one coaching is going to be really beneficial. That one-to-one coaching is going to be really beneficial in talking to you about the weight loss struggles, about the postpartum body, about your mindset, and it depends on what level of coaching the coaches offer. So for example, I have just basic programming where we're just checking in, working on the programming, no mindset stuff, and just kind of tips and tidbits. Second level is going to be a higher level where we're talking about the mindset piece, why you start and stop, why you feel like you have to do it perfect, why you have to start every Monday, why if you can't do the workout how it should be within that hour, then you don't do it at all. So that's going to be a lot more mindset work that I work on with nutrition coaching and one-to-one calls. So different coaches have different tiers of what they offer. And so if you find a coach that resonates with you, shoot them a text, shoot them a DM, email them, see what they offer. I would caution you away from this is no offense to the bodybuilding coaches, but if you're postpartum, you do not need to be working on a bodybuilding competition. Like that is not what's going to get your body back. That is not what's going to get your confidence back. And I'm sorry to say that so bluntly, and there are some great bodybuilding coaches, but your body is so depleted of energy and nutrients after giving birth and potentially feeding and sleeping that you need to consider there's so much more than what your body looks like, right? And a lot of these things that happen postpartum were there before pregnancy, but now we just blame it on postpartum. Like actually these behaviors were there, we just never addressed them or knew they were there. So this is a great time to work on that, because a lot of times with my clients, they don't want their kids to feel the same way they do about their bodies or their nutrition or their exercise rules. And so it's a great time to work on that, because as you know, if you're a parent, a lot of parenting is reparenting yourself and finding out what were your beliefs about childhood. So for example, what I'm going through right now is just feeling left out. I just feel like I don't quite fit in anywhere. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt this way for a lot of my teenage and college years. And this feeling of insecurity, I don't quite belong, actually dictate a lot of my behaviors and actions towards people. I feel like I was almost ruder or maybe more standoffish to protect myself. And now I'm finding obviously I can't be rude if I'm joining a group, you know what I mean, to protect myself. I'm voluntarily here. So it's really interesting that I'm feeling this way. And it's been something I've been really struggling with. And it's something that I didn't know existed until I had a kid. And, you join some groups and you figure out man, I don't quite fit in, going out anymore. I know. And I don't quite fit in, have the security of raising a child yet. So, because I don't know what I'm doing, because I've only had one for 12 weeks, so it's really interesting that I'm feeling this way. So needless to say, I forgot where I was going with that, but that's what's happening in my life, to be honest. Anyway, I have no idea where I was going with that. Let's talk about how to modify programming based on what's happening in life too. So one of the major things that's going to adjust your programming is going to be sleep, right? So this is really fitting because we've had some really great nights of sleep and then all of a sudden she tanked again. And it's so frustrating because you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do differently? And it's I literally, every time I woke up last night, I was maybe it's because we didn't take a bath last night. Maybe it's because she didn't take a later nap. Maybe it's because I had her wake window before she went to sleep too long. Maybe it's because of gas, maybe. So every night, every waking hour, I had a different thought of why she's not sleeping through the night. And I had to tell myself it's just because she's a baby. She's learning and all of that. So sleep is going to be your biggest enemy. I would highly encourage you to just monitor yourself. You know, there's these apps and wearables like Whoop and Apple Watch and Oura Ring that'll tell you your recovery and how well you slept. But actually, Aaliyah Crum was on Dr. Huberman's podcast quite a few years ago, and she studied kind of like your mental and emotional energy compared to what these watches and devices are telling you. And she actually checked in, like, people felt differently if they didn't look at that recovery score, and were able to adjust their workouts accordingly based on how they felt. Now, they adjusted their workouts accordingly based on that device, what was telling them, but they could have performed better, or maybe they should have performed less. So something I'd really encourage you to do is just check in with yourself before you go and work out. Like, if you're like, oh, I'm so tired, like, take that nap instead. Relax on the couch instead. I know they say sleep when baby's sleeping, and I kind of feel like that's such a farce, because you like try and lay down and you're like, I could do the dishes, I could do the laundry, I could do this, I could do this. Your mind just starts going with a bunch of lists. Just rest, or maybe resting is doing the laundry and folding it. You know what I mean? So if sleep is problematic, then you don't need to be lifting every day and going hard. Like, we just need to kind of work on body weight, maybe some mobility. If you had a great sleep that night, get after it. So you need to be able to fluctuate that and trust yourself, and just know, just because you took a day off when you weren't planning to doesn't mean you're not committed. It doesn't mean you're not motivated. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your motivation. It just means today I need some rest, and that's actually going to be more beneficial for my body than it would be to push through. The other thing that we need to consider is nutrition. You know I was going to bring it up. Come on. So if you're not eating enough, you are not going to be able to recover. Your sleep is already going to be inconsistent just because you have a baby. And food is actually really important to help heal your body. And just because you're 3 months postpartum, 4 months postpartum, 6 weeks postpartum, it doesn't mean that your body is in that nutrient, like, we'll say, surplus that it was before. Especially if you're in a calorie deficit right now. Like, please just wait. I had a girlfriend say a really good statement to me that I've really been using and resonating with me is, so for example, like, Olivia was about 3 months, and I was kind of talking about like a weight loss phase and all this stuff, and just kind of going into that topic. And she's like, you've literally had a baby for 90 days. 90 days. That's it. Give yourself some time. And I was like, wow, that hits. So for those of you listening who are in this early phase, we've literally had a baby for days. We're not even the years yet. If you're 5 years postpartum, then what I would encourage you to do is make sure you know your maintenance. Make sure you know how many calories you can eat without gaining or losing weight before you go into a weight loss phase. So we just need to make sure that we're eating enough throughout the day. If you're not eating enough, you're not going to build muscle. Your weight is not going to drop because your body is going to go into like energy conservation mode, and you're just going to feel more tired when you work out on top of that. So a lot of things to discuss there. Last part is, what kind of support do you have? So if it's harder for you to get to the gym because maybe your spouse is a pilot, right? Sometimes he's gone. Like, my spouse goes out of town every couple of weeks for about a week. And so what does my day look like? I'm up. I'm the one that's taking that first and second shift if she wakes up. So I'm a little bit more tired. So maybe I back off on the weight, right? Maybe I back off on the exercises. Maybe I back off on the sets. So for example, today I was doing 4 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Maybe I just do 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Maybe I do 4 sets of 10 reps to go a lighter weight. Maybe I take longer rest periods. Maybe I split the workout up between today and tomorrow. So a lot of considerations on how to adjust programming for postpartum, how to choose your next one, and I've got to get her fed, so it's time to go. All right, we'll see you on the next video.